Welcome back, folks. This is Suave, and today we're going to be taking a look at all of the green cards for the Set 1 Romance Dawn booster set for the One Piece card game. We're going to be taking a look at what all of these cards do, and we're going to rank them all accordingly to see whether or not they're going to be very competitive or whether or not they're going to be card fodder. So, without further ado, let's begin. Alrighty, first of all, we're going to go ahead and remind ourselves what all of these leader cards do that have access to all these green cards. So first of all, we have the green starter deck leader card, Eustass Captain Kid. Activate once per turn. For 3 Dawn, you get to rest 3 Dawn. You get to activate this leader once again, as long as you discard 1 card from your hand. And he does have 5 life. And then we're going to go ahead and check out the next card, which is Trafalgar Law, our red-green leader. Once per turn for 2 Dawn, if you have 5 characters, return 1 of your characters to the owner's hand. Then play 1 character with a cost of 5 or less of a different color as the returned character from your hand. So he has a double color, so he only has 4 life instead of 5. Our next card is also going to be Monkey D. Luffy, as well as red and green. Activate once per turn for 4 Dawn. Set 1 of your Supernovas or Straw Hat character type character cards with a cost of 5 or less back to active, and it also gains plus 1000 attack during this turn. So he's a very aggressive leader. And last but not least, the Chad of Wano himself, Kozuki Oden. Activate once per turn. You may trash 1 Wano country type character, or type card I should say, from your hand, and set up to 2 of your Dawn as active, so you get to reactivate 2 of your rested Dawn and be able to use that. It's a very powerful effect that he has there. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at all of the green cards. So first we have Ashura Doji. Ashura Doji is a 3 cost for 4000 power with a counter of plus 1000. He does have the keywords Wano Country and 9 red scabbards, which is going to be very relevant as we see it later on during the cards. He has the ability, as long as he has 1 Dawn attached to him, if your opponent has 2 or more rested characters, this character gains plus 2000 power. So he can be a very powerful character. With 1 Dawn attached to him, he's going to be 7000 power. He's only a 3 cost, so it's actually a very good aggressive type of attack character. The only downside is that when he is done and it's your opponent's turn, he will only be a 4000 power. Because at the start of your opponent's turn, they will have all their characters active. They won't be rested anymore. So as long as they're constantly attacking Ashura Doji immediately first, and maybe the leader is attacking first, then Ashura Doji is only a 4000 power. But he's still very powerful nonetheless. There's going to be a lot of restanding abilities. Ashura Doji is definitely relevant in the meta. I don't know if he's going to be hyperly competitive. I mean, he is very powerful at 7000, but I think a lot of other people are trying to combo into other characters. But Ashura Doji is definitely very good with the counter, with the flexibility. He is a 3 cost, so he's not that expensive. He's definitely going to be very powerful. There's going to be a lot of other cards that I think maybe outmatch him, but for the most part, he's very, very relevant for this Wano Country cards. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got next. And next we have here Izou. So Izou is a 3 cost for 3000, so not very powerful stats for the cost. Wano Country, and he's also a former Whitebeard's pirate. He has a counter of plus 2000. Plus 2000 is amazing. You always want to see plus 2000 on any cards. His ability is on play, rest 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. This is an extremely powerful effect. There are a lot of 4 cost or less characters that are extremely powerful. You want to be able to get rid of them. Even if your opponent just played them in the last turn, you get to rest them immediately and try to take them out before they can even do anything on the board. So this is a very, very strong effect. You also get the flexibility of plus 2000 counter, and he has the Wano Country tag, which is extremely important when you're going to be playing like a Kozuki Oden deck and a lot of other Wano Country decks. This is easily going to be an S tier competitive card. Even if you're not playing Oden, I think you just include Izou in there because of the flexibility of being able to rest an enemy character and also have that plus 2000 counter. Next up, we're going to go ahead and see Dogstorm. Dogstorm is a 3 cost for 4000 power. He has a counter of plus 1000, so it's pretty good to have him in your hand. For 2 times Dawn when attacking, set 1 of your Dawn as active. So you need to give up 2 of your Dawn on him on a 4,000 power character, so he's going to be 6,000. And when he attacks, one of your other dons that are rested is going to be going back up to active. So it's almost like he's paying for himself. Not really, because you're still kind of limiting 2 don onto him. He might be good. It's not limited to once per turn. So if you are able to restand him multiple times and attack with him multiple times, you could basically activate a lot of your cards. He's definitely going to be good. I don't know if he's that good. I haven't messed around too much with Dogstorm, but Wano Country, Red Nine Scabbards, Mink Tribe, he's going to have a lot of synergy. So I'm going to put him up there along with Ashura Doji over at A tier. I think he's going to be very, very good, very relevant in the meta. Let's go ahead and see what we got. The next character, Okiku. So Okiku is probably a lot of people's favorites. 3 cost for 5,000 power. Amazing stats already. And that's basically vanilla stats, but also with an added effect. Because of that, there is no counter. So Okiku is kind of dead in your hand. You want to get Okiku out on the field as fast as possible. She has the ability, or he has the ability. Wano Country, 9 red scabbards is that's the trait. The ability for 1 don attached to them when attacking once per turn. Rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Once again, resting the character is very powerful effect. 5 or less gives Okiku a lot of flexibility to target a lot of threats out there. Okiku is easily a very good card no matter what you're playing in. In my opinion, Okiku is hands down S tier competitive right there with Izou. Alright, so next up is probably one that's maybe a mixed bag of where it goes. We don't know just yet. This is Otsiru, vanilla 1 cost for 3,000. So nothing too special here. Usually we put our vanilla cards down to the card fodder. However, she does have the Wano Country trait. So this is going to be very relevant for people who are going to be playing Kozuki Oden leader decks, mostly because he wants to rely on having as many Wano Country cards in his deck in order to be able to utilize his ability to trash a Wano Country character card, or any type of card, not just character card, any type of card, to be able to restand your active Don. I don't know if she's gonna fit in a lot of decks. I think people are gonna maybe find more ways to put other characters in there, but because she has that Wano Country trait and it's very relevant to Oden, we're just going to go ahead and put her in B tier. I don't think she's necessarily a useless fodder tier. She's definitely going to be useful, maybe not as useful, but she'll definitely see some play in some Kozuki Oden decks. So we'll see what happens with her. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she just doesn't see play any at all. But we'll go ahead and see what we got in the next card. Here is Kawamatsu. Kawamatsu is one of our usual other vanillas. 2 cost for 3,000. Not too much going on there. Counter for plus 1,000. Trigger, if you get him off your trigger life, you play this card. 2 cost for 3,000. I think there's, for vanilla, I think people are going to be playing other ones. I mean, I know we saw Okiku, it's a 1 cost for 3,000. So if you're going to be putting Okiku for 1 cost for 3,000, why would you put Kawamatsu in there for 2 cost for 3,000? Even though it does have the 9 red scabbards trait along with the Wano Country trait, I'm not sure if that's going to make him too relevant. So for now, unfortunately, we're going to put Kawamatsu down in the card fodder tier. Let's see who we got next up going on here. We got Kanjuro. So Kanjuro is also kind of a weird one. 2 cost for 3,000 power. He does have a plus 1,000 counter, so that's nice. He does have the traits Wano Country and 9 red scabbards. For 1 don attached to him, whenever he attacks, he gets to KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 2 or less. That's very powerful. However, he does have a downside to him on KO. So whenever Kanjuro gets KO'd and knocked out, your opponent chooses 1 card from your hand and trashes that card. So he's kind of a double-edged sword where he's definitely going to be relevant in being able to take out he's going to be able to take out a lot of threats. However, you don't really want to lose cards, and he's a very easy target at 3,000 power. Only 2 costs, so he's very targetable to a lot of different effects, and also easily KO'd to just battling in general. So his effect is definitely useful, but I think for the decks that want a similar effect or just board control, I think there's going to be a lot of better options. And I think Kanjuro's right now is just going to be in the card fodder tier. He's not really, his benefit doesn't outweigh the risk. I mean, sure, green can definitely draw a lot of cards, but I don't necessarily think they want to give up any free cards just to be able to have that chance of KOing one of their opponent's rested cards that's 2 or less. And it has to be rested. And on top of that, he has to wait a turn before he attacks. And if he gets KO'd before he attacks, then you just feel bad for paying 2 cost and then him having to get KO'd, and then you lose a card on top of that. So it just feels bad playing him right now. I don't think there's a whole lot of support for putting Kanjuro in there, so therefore he's going to be in the card fodder tier. Now what's not going to be in the card fodder tier is his next card. It is going to be Killer. So Killer is a 2 cost for 2,000, not impressive stats, but he doesn't need impressive stats. He has a counter of plus 1,000. He has the blocker, so he's a cheap little blocker. And if he has 1 Don attached to him on block, if you have 3 or more characters, you draw a card. Killer is one of those guys who is pretty much relevant in any green deck that you put him in. He doesn't necessarily need a whole lot of support. He just needs to have characters out there, which green is going to be good at doing. And he's going to be able to draw you a card as well as block. And he's only a 2 cost. So that alone is extremely amazing, especially for just this first set meta. Killer easily S tier competitive. He's going to see a lot of play in a lot of decks, no doubt. He's super beneficial all around. Very cheap stats, very useful, blocking and attack, drawing cards. Easy S tier of our lives. Now the next one is Kinemon. So Kinemon is a 6 cost for 6,000 power. He has no counter on him. He has the Wano Country trait and the 9 Red Scabbards trait. On play, if your leader is Kozuki Oden, play 1 9 Red Scabbard types character with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So he's going to be able to give people a free 3 coster as long as you play him, and as long as, of course, you play the Kozuki Oden leader card. He's really, you would never really play Kinemon unless you're playing Kozuki Oden as your leader. For 1 Don attached, he's another ability. When attacking once per turn, set one of your Red 9 Scabbards types characters with a cost of 3 or less as active. There are a lot of, if not, I think all of the other 9 Red Scabbards that we're seeing today are all pretty much 3 cost or less. So I don't really see any issues in conflict with anything. He's going to be able to restand, and a lot of, like we saw earlier with like Dogstorm. We might see something else later on in the future. Or we also have Ashura Doji. Ashura Doji is like a 7,000 power. So Dogstorm, Ashura Doji, attacking twice. You can either attack twice for 7,000, restand one of your rested Dawns with Dogstorm. So he's a very powerful card. He is pretty limited to only being in a Kozuki Oden deck. So while he is extremely competitive, I think we're just going to put him in A tier for now because he is just limited to that one style deck. But that doesn't mean he's a bad card. He's definitely a very useful card, especially if you're playing Oden. But overall, for the green color, we'll just put him in A tier for now. So next up we have Kozuki Momonosuke, 1 cost for 0 power with a counter of plus 1,000. He has an active main ability. You get to rest 1 Dawn and you get to rest this character. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 Wano Country type card and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So he's basically like a Bonnie but for Wano Country characters. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of support of Wano Country characters outside of playing Kozuki Oden. Yeah, I think you're mainly going to want to play Wano Country characters for Oden. I don't see there being a lot of other support, because if you're going to be playing anything outside of Oden, you're going to be using the Supernovas trait, and you already have Bonnie for the Supernovas trait. And so for that reason, even though Bonnie is super good, I think Bonnie is just really good because she has that flexibility of being in more decks for using that Supernova trait, whereas Momonosuke is kind of shoehorned into one deck. So for now, we're going to put Momonosuke in A tier, just because he is shoehorned into one meta style type deck right now. But later on in the future, that might change, where we have more support and more leaders for Wano Country. So we'll see how that happens and pans out later in the future. Okay, so next up we have, of course, Komurasaki. We have one cost for 0 power, counter plus 1000, like we see with Momonosuke. On play for 3 Dawn. Okay, so let's just, before we read anything more about that, you have to play her for 1. Then on play, you have to rest another 3 Dawn. So that's 4 Dawn that you have to spend. If your leader is Kozuki Oden, so you're already shoehorned to only using her and Oden, set one of your Wano country type characters with a cost of 3 or less as active. So it's basically having the same ability as Oden, or not sorry, as Kinemon while he attacks, except she can do it not freely, but she can do it just by playing her. But you have to spend 4 Dawn. Now, that might still be good only because with Odin, he can restand 2 of those Dawn. So if you use it with Odin, you play her after you attack with somebody. You rest 4 Dawn in order to play Komurasaki and her ability. Active that person again. Trash a Wano country type character with Odin. Restand 2 Dawn. So you really, I mean, you did pay that for it. It's not like it's paying for itself. It's not really paying for itself because you have to trash a card from your hand to do it. So she's kind of like a mixed bag. I think people are trying to test her out, but I think as they try to test her out, I think the cost is not as beneficial to her benefit. I think it's a very costly effect for 4 Dawn, even though green does like to draw and does like to have restand a bunch of the rest of Dawn. I think she's just a little costly. I think for now I'm gonna put her into B tier for we'll see play. She's definitely not trash at all. She's costly. She's only shoehorned to one deck right now. Maybe later in the future we'll see better support that can maybe have more ways of activating your readying or putting active your rested Dawn. So she might be a little bit more useful, but for now I'm gonna just put her in B tier. Okay, so next up we have here a 3 cost for 5,000 vanilla. This is Shinobu with the keyword trait Wano country, counter plus 1,000. Now this is kind of like the same thing we got going on with Otsiru, where Shinobu is probably not going to be that relevant. I mean, I know that she has the Wano country traits, and we did put Otsuru in B tier. However, we only put Otsuru in B tier because she's just a 1 cost character. In the 3 cost character slot, I think there's a lot of other competitive cards like we saw with those Red 9 Scabbards cards that were all 3 cost. So I think because of that, there's really no room for Shinobu even in a Wano country style deck where we're going to have Red 9 Scabbards who are all a bunch of 3 costs filling up that slot. So for now, Shinobu is going to be in the card fodder tier. Let's go ahead and see who we got next up in line. We have Shachi. Shachi is one of the hard pirates, 3 costs for 4,000 power with a counter of plus 1,000. He is a blocker. On play, if you do not have penguin in play, you get to play 1 penguin from card from your hand. So you basically get to play another card for free as long as he's in your hand. He's definitely useful. He has the Heart Pirates traits. There's not a whole lot of support for Heart Pirates. However, green decks in general do like to draw cards. They do like to have a lot of blockers. So being able to play Shachi and Penguin is very relevant for those decks. I think people are starting to cut these out just to fit in some other cards, and we'll kind of get into what some of those other cards are in the future. But I think they'll still see some play. I'm not sure if they're as good as some of your other options. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and put him in the B tier. I think that's kind of where they belong right now. I might be completely wrong on that. They might be A tier where they're just really, really good and really relevant. But I haven't seen too much play with them lately in my personal experience. Next up, we have Jean Bart, the 4 cost for 6,000. Heart Pirates trait, vanilla character, counter plus 1,000. We don't really see a whole lot of play with the vanilla characters since the starter decks, and he only has the Heart Pirates trait, doesn't even have the Supernovas trait. So for that, without much support, he's a vanilla character. We're going to go ahead and put Jean Bart down here at the card fodder tier. Now the next card that we got going on, it is Denjiro. So Denjiro is a 5 cost for 7,000 power, very powerful stats, and he has no counter because he does have an effect for 1 Dawn attached to him when attacking. If your leader is Kozuki Odin, so once again shoehorn to that Kozuki Odin deck, he will be able to set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. So again, we were kind of seeing that with Komurasaki, where you need more cards that can get your Dons back to active. Denjiro is definitely one of those, but it's going to require a lot of setup to get all that laid out for Komurasaki. So Denjiro is definitely relevant. He's once again, he's only going to be really good in that Kozuki Odin deck. And when you have a card like him with such relevant effect, but only shoehorn to that one leader card right now, he probably will be S tier later on in the future when there's more Kozuki Odin support. But for an in general ranking of all green cards, I would just put him in an A tier right there with Momonosuke and Kinemon, where they're kind of they're very powerful effects, but they're shoehorned to that one leader. Obviously, if we get more leaders like that, maybe, well, no, because you would need this one's only a leader for Kozuki Odin, right? So it would have to only be if we get more Kozuki Odin leaders. Maybe if it's like a green red or something like that, I don't know. But if we get more Kozuki Odin leaders, sure. But right now it's only a mono green card. So we're gonna go ahead and just put them there in the A tier with the others, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to who we got here next. It is Trafalgar Law, 5 cost for 6,000. He has a blocker. On play, you may return one of your characters to your hand. Play one character cost with a one character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So you get to bounce a cheap character and play another character that's hopefully costing 3. So you get a lot of value out of him. He is a blocker. He has decent stats, 5 for 6,000. He doesn't have a counter, but he's very relevant. He's very special to combo decks, like if you're just playing red green law. He's even especially useful if you're playing mono green, red green Luffy. He's just a very flexible character all around, giving you value. He is a blocker himself, so he's not too bad. 6,000 power. I mean, we're seeing blockers with 6,000 power, and they stick to the board very easily. It's very easy to defend them. They stick around. Very useful characters. So we're gonna put him up there with S tier competitive. Next up, it is going to be Cat Viper. So Cat Viper is a 2 cost for 3,000 power. Counter plus 1,000. On play, rest one of your characters with a cost of 3 or less. This is very powerful. This is what you want out of a 2 cost character with 3,000 power. He has a counter plus 1,000, so he's not dead in your hand, and he's going to be able to rest cards with a cost of 3 or less. We saw Izou. I think Izou was 4 or less for a 3 cost 3,000 or 3 cost. Yeah, I think it was 3 cost for 3,000 because Izou was plus 2,000 counter. So Cat Viper, very relevant, is not shoehorned to a Kozuki Odin card or a deck, or not even shoehorned to a Red 9 Scabbards deck. He does have those traits: Mink Tribe, Wano Country, Red 9 Scabbards, 9 Red Scabbards, sorry. But Cat Viper is very flexible, can be added to any single card or any single leader that uses green, and will be able to immediately use his effects. Cat Viper, in my opinion, immediate S tier. Very useful ability, very good flexibility, has the counter, can be used in all the leaders that use green cards. Easy S tier. Now next one, we got Bepo. Bepo is a 4 cost for 4,000 power. Counter plus 2,000, so plus 2,000 is very good, very relevant. Dawn times 1 when attacking. Play one Heart Pirates type character card other than Bepo with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So we are seeing more support for Heart Pirates, but I don't think this is enough to warrant like a Heart Pirates type deck. Later on, this will probably get stronger as we see maybe more copies of the Heart Pirates, because there's not really a lot of Heart Pirates, right? It's just Shachi, Penguin, Bepo, and Jean Bart. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much it, other than Law, obviously. But that's going to be it for Heart Pirates. So unless they keep printing more copies of those characters in green decks, maybe even in red decks if you mix him in with red or green. Other than that, I don't really see a whole lot of usefulness with Bepo. I don't think that there's enough hard pirates to really warrant this skill to put in a deck. I think it's going to rely too much on having those perfect pieces in your hand, and you can't really rely too much on that type of specific combo too much. And so for that, I think Bepo will see play. Definitely not useless, but he'll see play in some decks. Maybe in the future he'll see more play, but for now we'll put him in B tier and call it a day for Bepo. Next up, we got Penguin, so the other half for Shachi. 3 cost for 2,000, a blocker. If you do not have Shachi, you get to play one Shachi card from your hand. So basically the same thing as Shachi, except he only has 2,000 instead of 4,000 power. They're both 3 costs, they're both plus 1,000. Basically do the same thing. So with him also having on B tier, we're gonna go ahead and just put Penguin down here into B tier. Pretty sure they're gonna all see play, but I don't think they're gonna see as much play as some of the other cards or other decks out there. Now this next one, okay, this is the big one, right? 8 cost for 8,000. This is Eustass Captain Kid, no counter. The traits Supernovas and Kid Pirates. For 1 Dawn attached to him, on your opponent's turn, if this character is rested, your opponent cannot attack anything other than characters named Eustass Captain Kid. So if he's rested on the field, nothing can happen to anybody else unless this character is gone. And he has 8,000 power. That if he's just alone on the field, he has 8,000 power, and that's just without any help on the field at all with anything else, nothing else. Active main once per turn. You may rest this character. Play a character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So he gets to automatically rest himself after you play him. He gets you some value for putting a 3 cost or less character on the field. He's just all around good. You would think on paper maybe he's not that useful, but on practice, the way I've been seeing the current meta at this time for the set 1, when people are playing with proxies online with fan translations of these English cards, we're pretty much all agreeing that he is a meta defining card. Might not be as busted or as broken, but he's on that borderline where in certain decks he is a menace to deal with. In some cases, like I think the blue decks right now, any mono blue decks don't really have a good answer to this card, and kind of just have to muscle your way through it. And in some cases in the other decks, if you don't have the answers in your hand, you got to muscle your way through it. And it's not always the easiest thing to muscle your way through when he has a lot of support surrounding him. So Captain Eustass Captain Kid, easily meta defining S tier, without a doubt. S tier. Every deck should be playing him if they can, and even if they can't, if you don't think you should put him in, put 1 copy, put 2 copies in. You won't regret it, trust me. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have Raizo. Raizo is a very, very popular card. 3 cost, 4,000, counter plus 1,000. He has the keywords Wano Country, 9 red scabbards. He has 1 attacking once per turn. If you have 2 or more rested characters, draw 1 card. Anytime you get raw draw power, it is good. It is good no matter what. He is not shoehorned to any type of one specific deck. You can use him in any single green or red-green deck, or any deck that uses the color green, and you will be able to use his effect. It's very easy to get another character that's rested, and on top of that, he counts himself as a rested card for his abilities. You only need 1 other rested character, and then you attack with Raizo, you get to draw a card. Pretty awesome ability. Easily, in my opinion, S tier. Raizo's going to be good in a lot of decks. He's very flexible. He has the plus 1,000. Very good ability. Easily S tier. Next up, we have Wire. Wire is a 2 cost for 4,000 power. Counter plus 1,000. He is a Kid Pirate. He is a vanilla. 2 cost for 4,000. Kid Pirate. Not a whole lot of support or any support at all for Kid Pirates right now. Wire is card fodder tier. There's no support for him. There's no room for him. You're gonna play other cards that are filling up that 2 cost slot, and they're gonna do a whole lot more than Wire does for 2 cost for 4,000. Vanilla, no effect. Okay, moving on. It is not a vanilla card. It is X Drake. So X Drake is a 5 cost for 6,000 power, counter plus 1,000. He has the Supernovas trait, which is very relevant in this set 1 meta. He has the Navy trait, which will probably be very relevant upcoming soon, but we'll see some more. We'll see more of that very, very soon. And he has the Drake Pirates trait. No support for Drake Pirates right now. I think he's the only named Drake Pirate in the whole show. On play, KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. So he's basically killer, but he has killer is only a 3 cost for like 4,000, I think, or maybe three. I think it was 3 cost for 4,000. X Drake is a 5 cost for 6,000. Gets to KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. There's going to be a lot of characters out there that cost 4 or less that are very powerful, that are going to be attacking. And then when it's your turn, you get to play Drake. You get a 6,000 body on the field. He is going to be able to KO them, and he's just good. Whether or not he's S tier, that is the question. He has the flexibility. He's really good. I don't see how he's not S tier, because maybe I'm just not facing a lot of green decks right now. I'm pretty sure people are running him. If not, they should be running him, because he's just a really good card. There's not a whole lot of cards right now other than Law that's filling up the 5 cost slot, and you can easily fit more 5 cost characters in there. So I don't see why you don't run 1 or 2 copies of X Drake just as a little slide. Sorry, what is the word I'm looking for? Some side flavor into your decks in order to be able to get some more flexibility in those options to be able to get in there and kill stuff. There is a lot of other characters that rest cards as well in green, so I'm gonna say X Drake easily S tier with all these other ones. Very competitive card. He's gonna see a whole lot of play. Now the next one is another really good card. You Can Be My Samurai. 1 cost event. On your turn, you may rest 2 of your characters, draw 2 cards. Draw 2 cards is amazing. Hands down, it is amazing. Is it amazing in mono green? I don't know if there's enough cheap characters that you want to rest, because some of those characters are either going to be blockers or characters like Bonnie and Momonosuke who need to rest themselves in order to use their abilities. Now, if you're going to be mixing this in with red and green, where you have like Otamas and Namis who aren't really going to do anything after they've already been played and they're just sitting there, you're going to rest them, you're going to draw 2 cards, you're going to be a happy camper. So this one is, I would say, is S tier. Drawing 2 cards is just ridiculously powerful. This card, S tier. 1 cost, draw 2 cards, you just have to rest 2 characters. Not a problem. I'm going to put that in S tier. I think it's going to see a whole lot of play, and a whole lot of people are going to love using that card. Demon Face. Oh my god. 6 Dawn events. That is a very expensive event. KO 2 of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. Okay. It has the Supernovas trait. It has the Hawkins Pirates trait. Supernovas trait is very relevant. KO 2 of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. There is a lot. That is a lot of flexibility. Even if you get to just KO like a 5 cost and a 4 cost, that's pretty much worth it. KOing 2 characters, but you have to pay 6 Dawn for it. That's the thing that's killing me. It's like 6 Dawn is a lot, but you do get to have a whole lot of value out of it, as long as you're KOing the right people, and after they've attacked or after you've rested them, which green can do. But 6 Dawn, I mean, you do get to you get to ready a lot of your rested dons. Whether or not this is really going to see play, or whether or not this is very good, it's kind of questionable for me. I don't, I need to test mono green out a little bit more. Maybe some other decks. I'm just not seeing when you play the. I mean, you do get a lot of advantage. Oh man, this is tough because 6 Dawn is a lot. 6 Dawn is like playing Kinemon, and Kinemon is a body that also brings another body, but this one eliminates 2 bodies, so it's it's kind of in there. You know what? I'm gonna put Demon Face. I'm gonna put Demon Face in A. I think it's very good. I think people are gonna put this as maybe like a 1/2 in their deck, and be it's going to be very valuable when it counts. It might be sitting in your hand for a little bit, but when it gets that opportunity, when your opponent is trying to attack and you have ways to defend yourself and they have exhausted a bunch of their powerful cards, this card is going to be useful. And it's going to really matter in a lot of battles, I think. Next one is going to be Paradise Waterfall, a very powerful event, very popular ability. 1 cost, it is a counter. Your leader or one of your characters gains plus 2,000 power during this battle. Then set one of your characters as active. So plus 2,000, a lot of people are already just going to be attacking for like 1,000 over. So plus 2,000 is very relevant. You're always going to get that effect off at some point. And then you get to set one of your characters as active. Doesn't matter who. There's no cost restrictive to it. And there's also a trigger. KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. This is an extremely powerful and flexible card. There's no reason not to run this in any decks that run green cards. I think this is an amazing event card. So we're gonna go ahead and put that over in S tier, and that's gonna see a whole lot of play. I guarantee it. Everyone loves this card. Next up is gonna be Punk Gibson. Punk Gibson saw a lot of play when we weren't getting a whole lot of cards, but now that we have the whole set, I don't know if too many people are running Punk Gibson, but let's go ahead and read what it does. 2 cost counter. Your leader or one of your characters gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. Pretty good. Then rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Very relevant. On it has a trigger. Rest one of your opponent's characters. Can rest any character. Doesn't have to have any cost restrictive when it's played off trigger. It is a 2 cost for plus 4,000. I think this is still a relevant card. Whether or not it's that relevant because it is having to do 2 Dawn for plus 4,000. I think a lot of people are using other events, and when you're running red and green, I think you'd rather run the 1 Dawn Radical being the 1 cost Dawn that gives you plus 4,000, even though this does rest a character with 4,000 or less, which could be relevant. I don't know if this is the S tier card that it once was when there was a very limited amount of cards available to us. For now, I'm going to put an A tier. I think it's still very good. I think people are still going to use it. Probably not as much as some of the other events, but still a very good card nonetheless. It's definitely not a trash card. Next up, we have Beben. Beben, you may trash 1 Wano Country type card from your hand. It is a 3-cost event. Set one of your Wano Country type character cards with a cost of 3 or less as active. So it's kind of like Komurasaki. Komurasaki was play her for 1, rest 3 Dawn. This is trash 1 Wano Country type card. Trash 1 card from your hand, rest 3 Dawn, and you get to set a character card with a cost of 3 or less as active. Wano Country type character cards as 3 with a cost of 3 or less as active. This is probably shoehorned to Kozuki Oden decks because a lot of the other cards that are using Wano Country that are not shoehorned into Kozuki Oden are not always going to be having that much Wano Country characters. They're just going to be splashed in there, or they'll be in there, but I don't know if their effects are going to warrant them to be active, because you have Okiku, who's only once per turn, Raizo, who's only once per turn. Who else do you have? That's pretty much it, because both Izou and Cat Viper are on play. And so you would only really want to re-ready a character who's doing something relevant like Dogstorm, or someone powerful like Ashura Doji. Um, Very limited card for 3 cost. I think this card goes in the same tier as Komurasaki, because it basically does the same thing, except you're trashing a card instead of just spending the extra Dawn. So for that reason, I'm gonna put Beben over there in the same tier as Komurasaki, so it will be in the B tier list card. And last but certainly not least, we have Yamato. Yamato is the secret rare for green here in the set 1 booster set. She is a 5 cost for 5,000 power, counter plus 1,000. Her trait ability, this card name is also treated as Kozuki Oden. We don't really have any support for that, but that might change later on in the future. She does have double attack, so whenever this card deals damage to the leader, takes 2 life instead of 1. Banish, whenever this card deals damage to the leader, the target card goes to the trash instead of going to their hand, and it doesn't activate its trigger. Very powerful card, very threatening. Yamato is going to be a threat no matter what. She's flexible in any single deck you put her in, and I mean, I don't know if she's an automatic 4 times up. Her stats are pretty good. I mean, 5 cost for 5,000, and having all those like passive abilities, she's gonna be public enemy number 1 whenever she comes out. You never want to ignore Yamato. Yamato is going to be bashing up people. She's going to be winning games. Yamato is sick. So for that reason, Yamato S tier card. That's going to wrap it up for our green card tier list for the set 1 booster box Romance Dawn. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this tier list, and let me know if I'm wrong on any of these cards. What cards do you think belong in certain tiers? And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It helps me out a whole lot, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.